Welcome back to Grace and Grit. Today we've got a special guest whose passion and experience in the music industry has inspired many others. From the Bay Area, PC MUN OZ, Grammy-nominated producer, composer, and percussionist. And he's here to talk with us today about a music and film project that he's collaborated on called Rage. So welcome, PC MUN OZ. Thank you for coming today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sarah.
Of course. So just to start off, could you tell us a little bit about this project and its background and what your role in this was?
Sure. So Rage is an album and a dance film created by Cellista. It's a performance artist based in San Jose, California. And we have been trading work for a little bit and kind of getting to know each other. We have tons of mutual friends, but we hadn't worked together yet. So she contacted me and she said, hey, I'm putting together this project. It's in response to this book of philosophy. And she specifically said, it's a noise album. And would you be interested in it, in contributing a track? And I said, sure. And I actually really appreciated it because I use noise a lot in my work, but not a lot, but it's not what I'm known for. So I was glad that she noticed that I do that and that I might want to do something that's full on made of noise. So I appreciated the offer.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I didn't know that it had to do with the noise and that you had a previous relationship with Freya. So that's nice.
Yeah, just fleetingly, like just lots of mutual friends and a mutual admiration.
Right, exactly. Well, that's fantastic. So what did you think originally? What did you think of this idea of responding to an excerpt in a philosophy book, connecting that through music? What did you think of that?
I loved it because it's something, I'm a big fan of creating in response and having artists collaborate by one person completing a complete thing and then turning it over to another person to respond. I love that kind of stuff. I did a project in 2005 called 20 Haiku, and it was exactly that. I wrote 20 haiku and recorded them vocally. And then I brought in musicians and had them listen to the haiku once and then respond to it instantly in music. And we captured that. And then I took that recording and gave it to visual artists, and they were to respond by creating art to that haiku and music. It used to be a fairly elaborate website that we had up. I'd like to put it back up at some point. So the process was familiar to me. And but usually it was stuff that I've self-initiated. So it was nice to be invited into someone else's project who had a vision to do something like that.
That's great. That's fantastic. I didn't know that you had previously worked on a project like that, and kind of that improvisation of picking up on one piece and then translating it through music. I think that's interesting too.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and it's where I think a really dynamic and improvisation-based artists live. They like to respond in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's beautiful. So for this project that you worked on with Freya, you were assigned a chapter or an excerpt from the book, I believe. Were you able to choose that yourself, or what was it about?
No, I think Freya was definitely curating it. Actually, I think I get the feeling she very carefully chooses her collaborators. So I think she probably picked the people she wanted and thought, I'll place them with the sections that this is my impression anyway. Because she definitely said, I would like you to respond to the chapter called Coda. So Coda in music, for those who don't know, it's like a concluding passage after the climax of a piece. There's often a little extra passage, and that's a coda. And I love codas in symphonic works and orchestral works, and in general, I like the idea of them. So I was excited to get coda to be assigned coda as my piece.
That's great. I know for me as a ballet dancer, coda is one of my most favorite parts. I feel like it's always more lively and celebratory too.
Right. There's a chance to do something different. After the main structure's over, you get this little extra thing.
Exactly. You got to celebrate a bit afterward.
Yeah.
So when you read the chapter, did you envision the music? Did you kind of hear it unfold in your head? How did that develop? What was the process for that?
Let's see. So yeah, I read the chapter really carefully. She sent the text ahead of time, obviously, so I could kind of, marinate in it. And so what I did was I kind of distilled what I felt like he was saying in that section, which is really kind of I wouldn't say summary, but it sort of encapsulates all the things that come before it. So I was understanding the sorts of ideas he was trying to impart throughout the book, I think, and they're very much sort of put together and very concisely in that coda. So I thought, okay, I think I understand what's being imparted here. So I tried to manifest that musically.
Right. And
or noisily.
Yeah. Well, actually, adding on to that, to what degree did you feel that you were interpreting Professor Seeberger's intentions when he was writing the book versus expressing it just on your previous knowledge?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, and I had to, when I read it, I was very careful to think, how do I impart what I think he's trying to say? So it's always an interpretation, right? Especially when we're talking about philosophy. So yeah. I'm definitely interpreting what he's saying, and I'm trying to manifest it as best as I can, what I think he's trying to say. I didn't lean too much on my own experiences of the things he's talking about. I definitely tried to get inside of what he's trying to say and convey it through noise and music, through a sonic adventure.
Yeah, well, that's great. Now I heard about your previous project that had a little bit of that kind of improvisation and connecting two pieces. Have you ever done something or composed music or produced something where it connects like a work of philosophy or literature or humanity in the past? Have you done something like that, or is this the first time?
Besides the haiku project, I haven't done a lot of stuff that's directly related to another person's text. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of work with text and music, spoken text and music, but it's very rarely someone else's. So that was what was cool about it. But there are a bunch of cool things about this project, but that for me was one of them, was to get this, this few pages of text and go, okay, what would I do with that? Because it's very different from when I'm writing a piece of poetry or a song or just a piece of text that will be recited along with music, and then decide what I'm going to do with it. So when I'm trying to honor that person's words and honor what Freya was trying to do with the entire project, that's another layer of the intentionality that gets sort of woven into the creation of the work.
Right. And about your work, you've done some very impressive work in the past. I think you helped produce the Strange Toys in 2008, which got nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah, by the amazing composer and also cellist Jean Renaud. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's great. And you've also released multiple projects of your own as a soloist artist. So how does participating in a project like this, like the one that you're working on with Freya, how does that compare?
It's interesting because I admire her a lot as an artist, so it was just nice to be offered the opportunity. And it's also, just to be, sort of candid and practical, it's also kind of cool because I do a lot of, as you mentioned, I produce and I release a lot of my own projects, and that's a lot of work to do that stuff. So in terms of not only the creative part, but then for instance, just setting this up, Freya had to contact me or contact all the composers and dancers, and then you, and then there's a whole bunch of people working on this.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to do anything but make the music and show up and talk to you. So that's
collaboration.
That's cool. That part is, it's nice to be part of someone else's project that I admire and think is really cool, but then I'm not overseeing every aspect. I'm doing my piece, and going, cool. And then there's all this other stuff around it, like you and the dancers and the other composers. And I get to admire it the way everyone else is, you know.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not, you know, pulling it all together and worrying about the artwork and like, is this going to be on time and stuff like that? Because I know all that stuff too, but I don't have to worry about that here. I just get to create and talk with you and hopefully do a good job for Freya and Professor Seeberger.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, just hearing from you from the perspective of somebody who's kind of been in charge and overseeing everything versus also a musician who's very, you know, focused on their song or their music or whatever they're doing. And you've worked with many different artists in the past. You've worked with Jackson Browne, you've worked with Ingrid Chavez, fantastic, very rich, varied collaborations. Now I know you're good friends and have many mutual friends with Freya, but how was it working with her on this project?
So cool, you know, really easy. I think we have a lot in common. That's something we've kind of discovered, I think, as getting to know each other as artists. We have some significant things in common, and it made the work together really easy. Just her going, hey, you want to try this thing out? And me going, yeah, I'll try it out. and sending her the track and her going, cool, I think it's going to work. So it was, I would say, very easy and fun and enjoyable, you know, and good communication throughout. So I always knew what she was looking for and what, you know, what the project was going to be in its entirety. I haven't yet seen the dance part yet, though, so I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I really want to see how that turns out. Yeah, that'll be fun. And also, you've been previously noticed as an artist who's very socially aware, focuses on connecting culture and communities. This was said by, I think, Alina Prasad.
Anil Prasad, yeah.
Anil Prasad, yeah. So how did this project contribute to this value of yours?
Another good question. It's funny. I mean, I think of it a couple different ways. I mean, I was looking at the text in Coda, right? And thinking about some of the things he was trying to say. And the big thing that struck me was the potential for transformation after chaos. So that's a big thing. And I mean, you know, because especially right now, there's so much chaos and there's so much tumult in people, you know, and we're all wondering, is there something good on the other side of all this? So it's really, really timely. And it's a good reminder just in general, you know, both as a human, as a spiritual person, to remember that amidst whatever tumult and chaos there is, and no matter, you know, how scary it might be at the time, there is potential for transformation afterwards, and it's worth it. So that's kind of, you know, that to me kind of relates to those sorts of things, and it's one of the bigger things I got from Coda. I think one of the bigger things I had in mind.
Yeah. So I heard that you have written and published some poems. Do you think that this project may trigger you or another musician to kind of connect that through music? Could you see that happening?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I love that kind of stuff. I love people making music in response to text, in response to visual art. Excuse the sirens. Can you hear the sirens? Okay. Fine. Okay.
I'm in California right now. It's bad.
Yeah, I'm here in San Francisco, and there are sirens going.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm always open to that kind of stuff. I love the idea of people taking a piece of text of mine and creating something new. I've had people do that before. I've had people recontextualize works of my lyrics and words of mine into new, like songs that exist already, but they're like, I'm just going to take the words, and they've done that. But I haven't had anyone take words from poems specifically. So yeah, I would love that. I love any kind of response when artists have to look at something else, understand something else, and then dig down inside of themselves and give back, you know? Right. I love that.
Yeah, I love that.
I love the whole project.
Me too. I'm so excited to see it. Well, I think this is it for now. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited to hear your piece. I'm sure many others are as well. And again, this is PC Munoz and his collaboration with the project Rage, which is coming out this year. So thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.